Welcome. I think you can appreciate the good in a situation, while also understanding the possible downside that could have occurred if you did experience the alternative outcome. How many times have we done something and came out on the good side, but we then realized what could have happened if something actually went wrong? That is life. And in sports it can be the same exact feeling. My Philadelphia Eagles beat the Green Bay Packers on Monday night in Lambeau Field at Green Bay, Wisconsin. A great win against a potential Super Bowl contender with talent at every level of both their offensive and defensive rosters. To go on the road and defeat a talented team that has become a bit of a rival lately is a big win. The elephant in the room that we cannot ignore is the fact that the game resurrected some of the offensive challenges that have plagued this year's team since the beginning of the season. Aside from 2 or 3 games out of the 9 played so far, the offense has been what some may describe as a bit predictable and stagnant in terms of not being creative enough to get more than 2 yards on any given play. Ideally, our offense would be able to sustain a bit of possession to keep the opposing offense off the field. We have the second most 3-and-outs this season, if not the first now, behind only the Denver Broncos, another conference leader with a 7-2 record. A bit disappointing after 2 weeks of solid offensive play prior to the bye week, but the Green Bay Packers are much better than the New York Giants, who fired their coach already, and the Vikings, who were not last year's team. In the game against the Packers, we once again returned to a bit of the conservative approach where we did just enough of everything to win, relying on our defense to keep the Packers off the board, and we once again scored just enough to get the win. Green Bay has all the potential to contend for a Super Bowl, but they have their limitations as well. We have seen them also go through a rut on offense where they scored just enough to win, making the Week 1 blow the exception and games like Monday night the norm. For the Eagles, the formula has worked overall so far, but we have to worry that our luck may run out at some point, just like it did when we visited the Giants and they prepared hard to make it a point to play their best against a division rival. Next week may be more telling. The Detroit Lions come to town with a new play caller and have a prolific offense that can light up the scoreboard. They have had their share of struggle as well, lost games that you may have expected them to win. My worry is that the Eagles will have no choice but to get out of their offensive shell and play more aggressively. Hopefully, they will be fully prepared to leverage all our offensive talent to go round for round with Dan Campbell and the Lions, if we cannot play at our preferred pace. The Eagles' defense will have to play a perfect game with the weapons the Lions have, but the Eagles do have the potential to match up with anyone in the league. But this season has returned to the reality that any team can win against anyone on any given Sunday. The big picture is good for us. The Eagles are clearly in the driver's seat for the NFC East crown, as the Giants have moved on from their head coach, on their third quarterback, and are looking into next season. The Cowboys have the ironic fortune of having an offense that is better than anticipated and a defense that is worse than anyone could have ever imagined. The Commanders are sliding more than anticipated. They are not healthy at all. This season is a wash for them. But we cannot rest on the fact that we have what appears to be a clear path to the playoffs. The goals are bigger than just another division title. The objective is another Super Bowl run, not just winning at the expense of other teams' misfortunes. There is clearly some work to do on finding some consistency, even though we seem to rise to the occasion when called upon. While I am not a big fan of players complaining and making everything about themselves, I think A.J. Brown is right in wanting to be a bigger part of the offense. We have one of the best offensive talents in the league and we need to find ways to get him the ball in the natural flow of the game. I hope we can find better ways to scheme him open and get him looks that are realistic and not just forcing him the ball. The media is naturally divisive in nature and the national personalities want to see the Eagles roster lose talent. But I think Brown is a good fit for Philly and we need to use our 2-star receivers, as it is crystal clear that modern-day offenses need 2 capable wideouts. The positive part about the situation is that we are in a good position to be in for finding solutions to our problems. We are winning, and when we find that offensive consistency and ability to leverage all our weapons, it will only make us far more formidable. Not a bad place to be in. We are beyond the first half of the season, so many teams know their probability of contention for this season. Teams know the areas of their team that need to be reinforced for next season and cloaked for the remainder of this, or the potential need for a complete rebuild. Traditionally, teams in the latter, especially those headed in rebuild mode, will seek to at some point maximize their future assets, trade away talent for future potential at the trade deadline, and try to find paths to better picks. Sometimes, you have to let the youngsters play. The only teams really working to secure the number 1 overall pick in the entire league right now seem to be the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns. Teams that need it, like the New York Jets and the New Orleans Saints, seem like they will still be in the top 5, but they won this past weekend. The New York Jets would probably do themselves a major service if they decide to draft a quarterback this offseason, even if they retain Justin Fields. It may not be a deep quarterback class, but having the choice of what is available is probably a good thing. For the Browns and the Titans, they may not need a quarterback, but being able to add another top-of-the-draft talent may help them return to relevancy. The Browns still have the ability to maneuver and land a quarterback this year or next, but how many bad ones will they draft before they find a workable one? The Dolphins seemed headed for contention for the top pick, but they have found their fight for a bit with 2 wins in a row. Beating the Browns is not really that impressive, but the dominant win over the Buffalo Bills is definitely a season highlight for a team that has experienced more than their fair shares of lows this season. The hard part for the situation is that the current players do not want to lose out on wins for the remainder of the season. They do not want to see their value to the team or future teams diminish if the season continues in the current trajectory. It is very admirable for teams to realize that there is still at this point life for almost every franchise. Besides a handful, a team with a losing record that runs the table may still have a legitimate shot at the playoffs, if they win every or almost every game. If you played 10 games and have only 1 or 2 wins, then maybe not. From a big picture, it may not be the most helpful thing from a front office perspective if you go on a run. But from a fan perspective, we should never accept outright tanking in football. We see what it does for the product in basketball, and that league has a lottery system. From what the sports pundits say about the talent level of this upcoming draft, maybe this is definitely not the year to even consider tanking. I am not a fan of tanking, and in football there are many ways front offices can maneuver up the draft board. I do find it interesting when teams win after they dump talent and everyone knows where they are headed. But if a team that was left out actually makes it in out of nowhere, what a story that would be. For the 9 weeks that I have made 5 picks per week, I am 28 right picks, 16 wrong picks, and 1 that ended in a tie. That was the game I picked the Packers to beat the Cowboys. Now, I am not betting on these games, but doing pretty well with them. My first game pick this week is the Buffalo Bills versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a game that both teams need to win to keep their hopes up to win their divisions. The Bills are seeing the Patriots on a run right now and cannot let them get further ahead of them. The Bucs are only 1 game up on the Panthers that are playing better than the recent past. Statistically speaking, Baker Mayfield is having a better season than Josh Allen, slightly, and the Bucs have only lost to division leaders so far. But I think the Bills coming in healthier than the Bucs should be able to win at home, even though Tampa is a better road team than home team right now. I will pick the Bills to win. The Los Angeles Rams host the Seattle Seahawks for the division lead. Both are having great seasons and are tied at the top of the conference with my Philadelphia Eagles. This should be a great matchup between 2 great offenses. The Rams are built for what might be one last run, and the Seahawks were rebuilt to compete. The Seahawks have been playing great this season and have not lost on the road yet. The Rams are equally good at home, on the road, or overseas. I think they will be better in this game, which will hopefully score a lot of points on both sides. I will pick the Rams to win. In Week 1, the Chicago Bears faced the Minnesota Vikings on Monday night and were winning most of the game, except the point that actually mattered, the end. They have a chance to go to Minneapolis and solidify their place at the top of the division and get their win back. The Vikings are a team that may be better than their record shows. While you are what your record says you are, there are some teams that cannot be overlooked simply because they overlooked their opponents at the wrong time. I think the Bears have found their stride to some degree. The Vikings have their often injured quarterback finally back. This could be a close game. I will pick the Bears to win this game and keep their spot at first place. The Kansas City Chiefs come out of their bye week with a game against the division-leading Denver Broncos. The Broncos may have the lead, but can they hold it against the reigning 3-time AFC champions? Especially if this game is not a low-score game. I think the Broncos have a good enough defense to give the Chiefs fits, but Andy Reid does not lose coming out of the bye too often. So I will pick the Chiefs to win this one. I think with all the players back, they will come out of the bye looking to make a point. Finally, someone has to win the game featuring the Miami Dolphins and the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are reeling after losing their starting quarterback in a weird decision to keep Jaden Daniels in a blowout in his first game back from an injury. The Dolphins have found a heartbeat after what may have been the worst start of a football season in more ways than just what happened on the field, but it seems like they may have found their resolve and refocused a bit. If they run the table, they will be 10-7, maybe a playoff team. I'm not sure they will win their remaining games, but they probably will have a good chance to win this game. They are the ascending team while the team that made the NFC championship game a year ago is struggling. I will pick the Dolphins.
Thank you for experiencing this episode of the Christopher Peter Podcast, now on its own YouTube channel. Your viewership is appreciated and valued. Please follow the Christopher Peter Review on social media and continue to visit www.crcreview.com for new episodes of the Christopher Peter Podcast and the CRC. Thank you once again. Until next time.